Hi, I'm Tom Donahue, your host and moderator tonight for our live debate of Aldermanic candidates for the City of Rutland. We have 9 candidates running for 5 seats on the March 3rd ballot, and they're here to present themselves to you tonight. So stay tuned, it will be interesting, and you'll get a chance to know your candidates for the Board of Aldermen. And I would like to just give a quick shout out to PEG TV, of course, one of the best community access television stations in the state of Vermont, right here in Rutland County, PEG TV, Channel 21. Our coordinator tonight, Chelsea Tice, and our producer, does a great job here. We're very fortunate to have this asset in Rutland and to bring programs like this to you. The whole team, Tom Leopold, Chris McCormick, Nancy Donahue, Bryn Doan, and Sarah Nadler working on this set tonight to bring this to you, along with me, Tom Donahue, your host and moderator for the forum. And we're really appreciative of you tuning in. This is a very important thing that you have to do. You have to decide amongst these candidates and get to the polls on March 3rd to vote. We'll be doing a live election night coverage on that night, March 3rd, starting at 7 p.m. to tell you who wins. But tonight we have 9 people interested in one of the 5 seats on the Rutland City Board of Aldermen that will be guiding much of the city decisions over the next 2 years. I'd like to give a quick shout out to a couple of people watching out of town. Tanny and Joe are watching from Fairfield, Vermont tonight, along with Fern and John all the way up in Victory, Vermont, watching tonight. And love the fact that community access television can reach far corners of the state. Also, of course, got to give a shout out to my mom, Martha Donahue, watching tonight with my brother Mike, right here in Rutland City on 50 Edgerton Street. So, hi, Mom. And now we'll get to what we call the opening remarks. The candidates will have 1 minute to get started. And then we'll start asking some questions of the candidates where they'll have 2 minutes to answer. I'd also like to welcome our audience tonight on Facebook Live. And to start the opening remarks, we're going to just kind of go left to right and continue to go around the room during the evening. We expect this to be about a 90-minute program. And we'll start with Matt Reveal, right here to my left, and let Matt begin the opening remarks. So Matt, welcome.
Thank you, Tom. I appreciate it. I'm vying for my second term here as the Board of Aldermen. I was lucky enough to win the 1-year seat last year from the vacant seat of the gentleman who went to the State House. And, I learned a lot in my first year. I went to a lot of committee meetings, even the committees I wasn't on. I went to a lot of the extra stuff that I really didn't need to go to get fully diving into what we really need to do in order to do this city. What I bring to the board is I don't bring a political agenda. I don't bring a personal agenda. I want to do what's best for the city taxpayers and their families in this community. In order to do that, we really need to keep our taxes down and, keep business growing. As well as doing that, we still need to make sure that our police department, fire department, and DPW have the tools and resources they need to keep the city safe and clean. And as always, some of our elderly and veteran people in the community, I like to be their voice at City Hall too. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. Michael Talbot, opening remarks.
Hi, I'm Michael Talbot. I'm a teacher at Castleton University. I'm chair of the communication department there. I'm also an officer in our teachers union, twice elected by my colleagues to serve on their behalf. I've served on the board of directors of the Vermont Academy of Arts and Sciences, and I currently serve on the Vermont PBS Community Council. So I teach at Castleton because I've devoted myself to working on behalf of working class families and first-generation college students to ensure that they have a chance at a better future. I'm similarly committed to ensuring a vibrant future for Rutland. I work on keeping young people here by connecting them with career opportunities in the city. I'm working to make our city more attractive to new residents by renovating a neglected building and creating new rental units. And I really want to grow Rutland's reputation as a hub for arts and culture. Rutland's my home. Like so many passionate people I've met here, I'm committed to preserving the unique character of Rutland while also helping it adapt and grow for the future. I can do that as a fresh voice on the board.
Thank you, Michael. Scott Tomala.
Good evening, Rutland. My name is Scott Tomala, and I'm running for my 3rd term on the Board of Aldermen. I've lived and worked in Rutland as a physical therapist since 1997. Married to Rutland native Dina Abatel, and we've enjoyed spending the last 19 years raising our 2 daughters here in Rutland. As a therapist for the Visiting Nurse Association, I witness daily the struggles many Rutlanders are facing. And as a business person, I bring to the board the acumen required to meet the fiduciary responsibilities of being an alderman. I possess an excellent track record for making good on platforms which I campaign, frequently collaborating with fellow board members who have ideologies different from my own. My mission for a third term is to help this board work with the administration to make aggressive decreases to our municipal tax rate. We've made great strides to make Rutland the place that people want to live, and now we need to focus on making Rutland the place that we can afford to live and where employers can afford to do business. Myself and the other incumbents are the only candidates on this stage this evening who have proven experience and leadership to work effectively with the administration to lower our tax rate. So please listen closely, try to figure out who and what is the driving force behind the responses of new candidates, seek out the incumbents and ask us questions, and most importantly, please vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. Matt Whitcomb.
Thank you, Tom. And I'd be remiss if I didn't start by thanking you, the best moderator in Rutland, for being here tonight. And thank you to everyone at home tuning in. The reason I'm running for re-election is simple. I want to continue the great work that we've started. Over the past 2 years, we've, through the buyout program and tax stabilization, have seen 20 new businesses open in Rutland. If you've read the Herald recently, you've seen that that's added to improved sales revenue far beyond what we forecasted. Our City-Owned Properties Committee has returned nearly 24 homes to the grand list, which is going to substantially help you, the taxpayer, in seeing your taxes decrease over the coming years. Our housing market is also as strong as it's been in years. Beyond that, public safety is great in Rutland. Over the past 6 years, we've seen a precipitous decline in the significant crime rate that continues through the hard work of the police department and the work through the community in such things as Project Vision. Up next, we're tackling infrastructure. You don't have to drive on the roads or walk on the sidewalks to know how desperately we need to do that. But beyond that, this is significantly going to improve our economy, as it is going to help people move through the city and create a much more inviting environment for everyone.
Thank you, Matt. John Atwood.
Hi, I'm John Atwood. I'm a resident of Rutland since 2016. Rutland has been a really good place for me personally and professionally. And I'm at a point in my life where I would like to be on the Board of Aldermen to be able to serve and give back to the community that has really helped me to grow. I work at Casella Waste as a software architect. As part of that, we are always looking to hire people, so I'm very familiar with the struggles that businesses have attracting top talent to Rutland. We're looking far and wide. And I think that I could bring a unique perspective to the regional marketing and development efforts. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Paul Clifford.
Thanks, Tom. I'd like to start by saying thank you to PEG TV for hosting this forum tonight. My name's Paul Clifford. I'm a lifelong resident of the city of Rutland. I live at 42 Hillcrest Road with my wife, Lisa. I'm a sales rep for the FW Webb company in their Waterworks division. I was served on the board from 1988 to 1997, and I was also a downtown businessman. If I get reelected, some of the key issues that I'd like to talk about would be the roads and the sidewalks, the blight conditions of the city, and also the big one is to obviously to keep taxes lower. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Sharon Davis.
Thank you. I'm Sharon Davis, and I'm running for re-election to the Rutland City Board of Aldermen. I was born and raised in this city, and I am a nurse with the Visiting Nurse and Hospice of the Southwest region. I currently serve as the board president, a position I've held for the past 3 years. I've also served on many committees. If re-elected, I will continue to bring my dedication, hard work, and knowledge of the city issues to the table. Together, we will continue to work to move Rutland forward. I am invested in this community, and it's been my honor and my pleasure to serve you and this community, and I would appreciate your continued support.
Thank you, Sharon. Sam Garuso.
Thank you, Tom. I like to thank everyone for watching tonight and for PEG TV putting this together. I've been with the Board of Aldermen. I was back in 1992 to 1998. I served on the board. I, too, am a lifelong resident. Been around here and been doing business for a long time in the city. Started my own business about 21 years ago, and I've noticed things have gotten tough, and Rutland has really had quite a rough time, as it did back in the 90s. And I was a part of a board that rebuilt Rutland. We got Rutland back on its feet, and I'd like to shot at doing that and helping do that again, because things are tough, and we need more businesses, we need more industry that pays higher, and we need to clean up our reputation too. So get out there and vote, folks, and I think I can do a good job if you get me back, as I did it before.
Thank you, Sam. Cam Johnston.
Hi, Tom. Batting cleanup. I hope most of you have seen me before. I am amazed that it's been 3 years since I was first elected to the school board. And I'm sort of in the unique position of where not only have I paid close attention to local municipal issues, but also the school board, which oftentimes is viewed as this outside entity. And so I've been very much an advocate for transparency. And I think that one of the most important things as we move forward is to make sure that we actually listen to each other and make the time. I'm on the policy committee, I'm on the finance committee, and I'm also on the building committee. And we have a budget that's 2.5 times larger than the city budget. Now, it's a little unique that if I got 2 positions, I could handle it if I got a waiver, but I would put it up to the voters to decide where they think I would serve best. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak, and I'm wrapping up as instructed. Thank you.
Thank you, Cam. So we are going to begin our questions with 2-minute answers, and we're going again left to right. We do have a timekeeper this evening. I want to recognize Bryn Doan, who does a great job of actually keeping us all on track so we can keep this timely and fair to all involved. So thank you, Bryn. Appreciate that. So let's go right to Michael Talbot, who will be up next. And our opening question, and I always like to start with kind of a softball, get everybody warmed up. So and nothing too tough to begin with, but one thing I think that you have a distinct answer for, likely. And the first question goes like this. As a candidate interested in serving or continuing to serve on the Board of Aldermen, please highlight one thing that you are very passionate about addressing.
One thing I'm passionate about addressing is creating new rental units to attract people to downtown Rutland. So when I moved here, I wanted to live downtown. I wanted to rent something where I could walk and explore the community, get to know the shopping, the retail, and there just was nothing available. And I've talked to a lot of other people, and they don't end up moving to Rutland City because there's nowhere for them to rent downtown. They end up in another surrounding town. So to start addressing this problem, I bought a neglected building and started renovating it myself. Like so many of the city's properties, it needed major work on the foundation, work on the roof, and not to mention all the aesthetic attention it requires. That's a big obstacle for most people, so they're reluctant to buy these and take on these projects. When I finished the first apartment, in fact, before it was even done, I managed to convince somebody to relocate from New York City to live here. He loves it. He's able to walk around, get dinner, get a drink, go to the movies, and on the weekend he hops in his car and drives up the hill to go skiing, go mountain biking. There are countless more people like my tenant who want to move here and would avail themselves of rental properties downtown. So I think the city could take the lead in creating an easy-to-navigate incentive program to encourage the rehabilitation of our housing stock and increased investment in new downtown living opportunities. This is key to helping us attract new residents, ultimately growing our tax base and reducing the tax burden on our current residents.
Thank you, Michael. Scott Tomala.
Thanks, Tom. Yeah, the issue that I'm mission focused on for this term is and passionate about is decreasing our municipal tax rate. We have the 3rd highest municipal tax rate in the state. It's not sustainable, it's not affordable, and quite honestly, it's embarrassing. When we look at the municipalities in the state that are struggling, towns like Bennington and Brattleboro and Springfield and Barry and Montpelier, the one common factor that they all have in common is a tax rate north of $1. You just can't tax your way into economic success. All right, it's not just the way we solve it is not just cutting. All right, it's a 3-legged stool. All right, and one leg of that stool, you have to look at your spending and your management. The population of our community is decreasing, yet the cost and size of government is increasing. And those two things shouldn't be as divergent as they are, I should say. And we need to correct those. The voters need to demand lower taxes. You're going to hear a lot of ideas on how we fix this, but many of them are just pie in the sky. More arts, film festivals, water fountains, $5 coffees, all nice amenities, but frankly, none of them make the place where we live more affordable.
Thank you, Scott. Matt Wickham.
Thank you, Tom. I think the one issue for me is the elephant in the room that none of us are talking about, and that is we need to really focus on economic diversity here in the city. A stat that you're going to probably start hearing soon is 32% of our economy is made up of healthcare. It's great. We have great healthcare services in Rutland, but we are definitively over-leveraged in that sector. It doesn't take much to read the news to know that UVM and Dartmouth are both losing tens of millions of dollars. Community hospitals are closing throughout the state. If we continue down this road, we're extremely vulnerable, and any percentage hit to any of our big healthcare institutions is going to have a ripple effect throughout our community. Now, we've done some good things to try to combat this already. The buyout program, tax stabilization, these help. These help small businesses open, helps to diversify. It's created dozens of jobs. It's not going to be enough, though. Going forward, we're going to have to take far more bold action. One of the things I'm going to propose is the money that's in the buyout program, we are going to look at that through community and economic development. We have an opportunity to potentially put together a package in which we can go after a bigger mid-sized business, and by which I mean 100 to 200 employees, to try to incentivize them to come to Rutland. This will help to diversify the market and hopefully put us in a much better position where if we do see any sort of recession related to healthcare, we can absorb that and continue to be successful. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. John Atwood.
Thank you. I believe that growth starts with people. I think that Rutland, like a lot of communities in Vermont, has a very low unemployment rate. And I see this personally as we try and recruit at Casella Waste. I think that we need to continue on our regional marketing efforts. We need to strengthen that, and we need to broaden that. We need to develop the capability to do that within the city government itself without relying on outside firms and outside consultants. I think it's very important that we attract people to Rutland. I think that we have a lot to offer, and some of the other candidates have touched on that. And I think that as we attract people to Rutland, people will feel connected and they will start to build on their own economic opportunities, and this will create the customer base that businesses need. I think we need to focus first on the people and then on bringing businesses to Rutland, and this is the way that we will start a positive growth cycle that will help to expand our tax base. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Paul Clifford.
Thanks, Tom. For me, it would be infrastructure. The roads, the sidewalks, the underground infrastructure, those all need to be improved, as we all know that. As a former Public Works Commissioner, I have a lot of experience in these issues that I could bring to the board. The other thing, too, is supporting the proposed bond vote for the roads and sidewalks. I think that's going to be a big help. I think that would draw, more people here to the region, and I think we need those things to happen.
Thank you, Paul. Sharon Davis.
For me, it's a couple of issues. One that's always been near and dear to me when I ran the first time, and that's our neighborhoods. That is our tax base in the city of Rutland, the residential properties. And I think we have to continue to strengthen and stabilize neighborhoods that have been affected by some of the crimes, some of the drugs that have occurred. In partnership with Neighborhood Works, we have been able to do a great deal, and as again, that is our tax base for the city. The other would be is looking for alternative sources of revenue. As Alderman Clifford spoke and Alderman Tomla, they talk about taxes and then infrastructure needs. We've got to find other ways to pay for them. Our pension is a large cost to the taxpayers. We need to find some relief for that. So I would look for other sources of revenue to offset the property tax rate.
Thank you, Sharon. Sam Garuso.
Well, Tom, everyone, running a business, which I've been doing now for the last 21 years, is very simple. There's expenses and there's sales. In this case, like with municipal government, there's expenses and there's revenue via taxes. What happens is it's always easy to cut your expenses because that's something you can control. And in cutting the expenses, just like at home or in a business, if you got to run with less lights or run with less heat or something to to make your budget work, that's what you do. I mean, they're all saying this tonight, and this is where I'm about to say is we need a lot of things, but we got to pay for them. And it's like wanting a 60-inch screen, big screen TV. If you don't have the money, you got to wait. And in some cases, we can't wait for things, so we need to find revenues. And one of those places, like I've heard here tonight, and what I want to do is go back to my vision meetings that I started. Art Crawley named them, but they were the vision meetings where we brought in the business development people and Reddick and those people and said, how can we help you develop this community? I think it worked because through the 90s and 2000s, we had a lot of occupied businesses in town and we were doing pretty good as opposed to now. Not our fault, it's just the way the world's gone, but that's one of the things I would start with.
Thank you, Sam. Cam Johnston.
Yeah, thanks. I'm sort of in a unique position where I believe in transparency, and so one of the things that I think if we have to make tough decisions, that they ought to be clearly articulated so that we have some basis by making sure that we can grow upon that in the future. And I've had to deal with some PR issues and some other issues that have come to the community. And so as we are sort of sitting down to decide what needs to be done in the future, I think it's absolutely essential that people own their positions and are aware of the fact that you shouldn't have a debate through the newspaper rather than face-to-face negotiations to make sure that plans are made in a way that's beneficial to everybody. People mentioned the pension problems. The school board has taken an effort and actually has balanced our part. So now we have 85% of the pension funded, and it's the city hasn't done their follow-up job. They have added some of their contributions, but in terms of distribution, we have not been actually adequate there. So I think the fact that I've been able to see things from both sides is one of those fundamental things that I really want people to understand, is that you do have an impact and you do have an opportunity, and you shouldn't be able to buy your seat, or you shouldn't have to spend thousands of dollars in order to get access to the community. I'm willing to participate in any debates. I'm willing to sort of make sure that as we go through this process that we explain it. And I think that as we move forward, it's absolutely essential that people are willing to work together. And I think that's my most fundamental issue, is that we've gone through diversity training. I actually reached out to the Board of Aldermen to try to coordinate. We got the brush off and ended up doing it ourselves. So I'm willing to keep knocking on that door, and I'm willing to sort of keep asking us to make things. And well, and you've seen me run for election 1,000,000 times. So you clearly know that I'm persistent. And so I think that's what I bring. Whether you put me back on the school board or whether I am put on the Board of Aldermen, I'm willing to do the homework. I'm willing to sort of make sure that we articulate what our needs are. And that's why I think it's absolutely so essential that as we move forward, that we are realistic and say, what do we need to do? And what we need to do is wrap up. So thanks again, and we'll talk to you next time.
Thank you, Cam. Everybody, great answers to those questions and very succinct. We really appreciate it. Oh, Matt. Matt Reveal.
Tom.
Do you want the question over again, or?
No, it's tough going last, you know? I mean, wow, you've heard so many great answers.
I got so excited.
It's all right. I'm easy to forget. It's all right.
So I did, just for those watching, I did tell the group before we started that if I do skip somebody, just jump right up and call me out. So with that, Matt Reveal.
Thank you, Tom. I'll be short and sweet. I think a lot of the fellow incumbents hit it on the head. I mean, there's a lot that we need to do, but if I'm going to say one thing, I'm going to agree with current Alderman Clifford. I think the infrastructure. The infrastructure is something we need to fix. It's no secret that businesses do surveys before they come into our community and they want to plant their flag here in Rutland. And one of the biggest things they look at is our infrastructure. They look at our roads, they look at our sidewalks, they look at the traffic flow, they look at everything that we do as a city before they invest in our community. And if we don't fix the infrastructure in downtown especially, I mean, what's underneath the ground is over 100 years old, and we all want to focus on downtown and we all want to really grow downtown more than it is, but if we don't fix what's underneath between the sewer, the pipes, the water, everything, it's not going to do any good. And that's one of the things that we need to focus on next year.
Thank you, Matt. And now, leading off our second question, Scott Tomala. The question is, the Board of Aldermen have 7 standing committees and 5 select committees, and their members are appointed by the Aldermanic president. If you're elected or re-elected, which committees are you most interested in serving on?
Currently, I chair the general committee, and that's great because you kind of get the miscellaneous topics that don't have a good home to go to as far as the other committees. I definitely like the Department of Public, or the Public Works Committee. Focusing on our infrastructure is a key for all of us. And public safety is also another good one. You know, fire and police, they're critical to our to the success of our city.
Thank you, Scott. Matt Wickham.
Thanks, Tom. I would honestly be happy on any committee that you put me on. I really enjoy all of them. Even the ones I don't serve on, I attend anyways. But I'm going to throw one out there that I would love to share that'll probably surprise you. I would actually like to have a crack at the Human Resources Committee. I think this is a committee that's often overlooked and has the potential to substantially change the structure of City Hall. Think about some of the issues that we've encountered over the last 6 months or so, and there's so much potential that's been left on the table. When we think of diversity and inclusion, we have a real opportunity to look internally at, well, what are we doing here? Is there a different way we can approach the hiring process to make sure we're casting the widest net possible and we're not missing anything in the process? We've clearly had some personnel issues. Starting first with, how do we go about hiring people? Is there a better process that we can be following? Is there a way that we need to look differently at the way we do background checks and investigate people? Beyond that, there's been struggles in some of our departments internally. Is the reporting structure correct? Is there a better way to go about ensuring that people feel safe coming forward if something isn't working for them? I just see so much opportunity here in this committee that if you could get an engaged group of people, we could do wonders for City Hall. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. John Atwood.
If elected to the Board of Aldermen, I would be glad to serve on any committee that I would be appointed to. My campaign is about regional marketing efforts, and so I would be very interested and passionate about serving on the Economic Development Committee and in participating in any regional marketing efforts that the board is engaged in with other groups. But there's also a lot of other committees doing great work, and I would definitely be willing to serve, particularly on public safety. I think that's a foundation for a community, and I've really enjoyed getting to know some of the members of the police department that I've met at public events recently, and would like to work more with them. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Paul Clifford.
Thanks, Tom. I currently am the chair of the Public Works Committee, but I would gladly take any committee on. And like I said before, when I was an alderman in the late 80s and early 90s, mid 90s, I pretty much served on all of them. So I've got some experience to, with the matters that are at hand. We did not have back then, I don't believe we had an HR committee or a marketing committee, but I would be more than willing to be on either one of those two.
Thank you, Paul. Sharon Davis. Running for re-election? Or?
Right. So I think all the committees serve an important purpose, and I think the committees function certainly by what's being referred by the full board to a committee for action. And I think it depends on the chair. Is the chair engaged? Then the members are engaged. I have served, as Alderman Clifford stated, I've served probably on every committee and chaired a few. I've always enjoyed community and economic development, public safety, and charter and ordinance.
Thank you, Sharon. Sam Garuso.
Well, I was on intermunicipal agreements, was one of my favorite ones, and that allowed me to work with other towns, work with Mendon and Rutland Town, and many meetings with Clarendon. With what I'm trying to do and build some business around here, it'd be neat to have the other towns involved with us. A friend of mine said a long time ago, if we could bring in 500 jobs, that would be 500 cars, 500 refrigerators, 500 TVs that were sold. And I know it may sound grandiose, but that's kind of the idea, is that if us towns could get together, and I would look forward to being back on that. I also was on the fair committee, because I've heard my whole life, let's get rid of the fair. We're not getting rid of the fair. It's not going anywhere. It's a private entity, and they're going to stay there. So now let's make good with it, because when the fair has events there, those events, I say, sell pillows, sell food, sell gas. I know of an event that an engine was sold to one of the vendors at the fair. It was like a $25,000 sale that one of the local car dealerships made. So I'd like to be on, like I said, intermunicipal. I, like Paul, have been on a lot of other committees. and I'm sure community development would be nice. I'm also on regional ambulance, and regional ambulance used to ask for about $100,000 a year, and I think we're asking for 60 now. Police department costs like $3 million a year. The fire department's $3 million a year, and your ambulance is $60,000. So not a bad direction that's going in, and I'm glad to be a part of it. So that's my opinion on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Sam. Cam Johnston.
Yeah, I'm going to be short and sweet. I would say finance and the process that we move forward in this consideration is that I currently serve on the school board on 3 committees, and initially when I came in, I said I want to focus, I want to do one, and it ended up that they kept asking more and more. So what I'm willing to do is actually serve on any committee, as anybody else has indicated here. But I think what's essential to the process is not just that you sign up for a committee, that you actually invest time in actually getting things done. So I think that's one thing that we could do, is maybe look at, maybe there are too many committees in the Board of Aldermen, and that we ought to narrow them down so that we are getting more committee meetings that are more productive, rather than just committees that never meet. So I would serve on anything. Thank you.
Thank you, Cam. Matt Reveal.
Didn't forget me this time.
No, sir.
Thank you, Tom. As Alderman Whitcomb said, you know, I am on 4 or 5 committees. I attend every committee meeting, no matter whether I'm on the committee or not. I think you need to go to all the committee meetings, because there's nothing worse than when you get up to the Board of Aldermen and you're not informed on what's going on in that committee, and then you go to make that decision when you're in the board on every other Monday, and you're kind of thrown a curveball, and you're like, oh, I didn't know that, I wasn't aware. So I really think that you need to attend every committee meeting, whether you're on it or you're not on it. But the one that I'm on now, I sit vice chair for the Finance Committee, and as my platform says, I like to lower taxes and keep things right and keep the business going, so finance is up my alley, but I will attend every committee meeting as I did this past year.
Thank you, Matt. Michael Talbot.
So I'm most interested in serving on the Community and Economic Development Committee. The work of this committee most closely aligns with my areas of expertise and passion, creating new learning and career opportunities to keep young people here, attracting new residents through incentivizing investment and redevelopment of downtown housing, and increased support for the creation of a sustainable arts and cultural scene that will increase Rutland's visibility and bolster its reputation. That said, like others, I'll serve where needed. If you speak to any of my colleagues at Castleton, you'll find out that I serve on every committee where I'm needed and chair many of them. The Gen Ed Reform Committee, Cultural Affairs, Course Fees, Teaching and Learning. I'm a pretty tireless worker at Castleton. I work effectively with others to build consensus and produce outcomes. I don't miss meetings. I don't leave meetings early. If you've read any of my endorsements in the Herald, you'll hear me described as tireless. I'll work tirelessly on the Board of Aldermen. Thanks.
Thank you, Michael. For those of you just tuning in, again, I'm Tom Donahue, your host and moderator for tonight's forum for the Rutland City Board of Aldermen. 9 aldermanic candidates running for 5 seats. They'll be elected on March 3rd. So stay tuned. This is an opportunity for you, the voters, to learn more about the candidates here and right here on PEG TV. Your community access television station. So thank you to PEG TV again. We'll go to the next set of questions, beginning with Matt Whitcomb. So Matt, the third question for the night gets into a little more meat and potatoes. And you may have noticed in December, the Vermont Tax Structure Commission released its study with the results indicating that over 10 years, Rutland County has experienced the highest decline in population and the second highest decline in workforce in the entire state of Vermont. As an alderman, what initiative would you take to reverse this trend?
Thanks, Tom. One of the things that I specifically have done as an alderman is I've served on the Regional Marketing Initiative. We understand that this is a problem not just in Rutland County, but in Vermont and New England in general. We're going to need a very concerted effort to attract people here. We have some good things about us, but we have some things that are very challenging. Geographically within the state, we're not positioned perfectly. However, we can benefit from the fact that we are in a very aesthetically pleasing area. We have the mountains right to our east, New York to the west. Some of what we've done in this initiative is really focus on what's going to best get people here, and we use what we're calling a funnel method. So we're taking what's great about our area, that's skiing, it's tourism, it's our bike paths, it's the ponds, the lakes, basically all outdoor activities, and we're using that as a vehicle to attract people here. And then once we get people here, we're working very hard to roll out what we've called the concierge service. So when people show up, we welcome them with open arms. We really make them feel as though they're part of the community and try to get, individuals and families here really one at a time. Challenging in the sense of we do need to expand the job market right now in Rutland County. There's only so much we can do. I've already spoken in depth about some of the ideas that I have, but one of the things that we have to look to is actually influencing our state legislator. There's a lot of things that inhibit us from actually wielding the tools that could be at our disposal. So I think in addition to what we've already started doing as far as marketing, we have to be much better about our communication with our state representatives and seeing if we can institute some policies on a much wider level to help us really do what we need to do to get people here. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you, Matt. John Atwood.
So there's a lot of great ideas that have already been stated. I think one opportunity that I would like to, that I see that I hope somebody picks up on is I think there's an opportunity to create a public benefit corporation to work on redeveloping some of the housing downtown and some of the housing in the neighborhoods. I think this is a task that's not very feasible for individuals alone to take on this work, and it's not really feasible for the city alone to take on this work. But we need a public-private partnership to do this. City residents who would like to invest in the city need to be able to participate as investors in this initiative. And the city could come in and help select properties, help facilitate permitting and things like that to get this off the ground. And I think this would be a concrete step that would help bring people into Rutland and bring professionals into Rutland into housing that is attractive, that is easy for them to move into. And I think there's jobs waiting in some of our local companies that we're having trouble filling because people are not really connecting to Rutland. We're attracting people with our outdoor activities, our community art spaces, but I think the housing piece is kind of the missing piece that we need to solve. So I think this is an idea that might help there.
Thank you, John. Paul Clifford.
Thanks, Tom. One idea that's been floated around for years and people sometimes don't take it very seriously is one of the things that I actually wanted to bring to the board to talk to start having discussions with the town is a city-town merger. Now, I think people say that's pie in the sky, it'll never happen, but I have a vision and I think that can happen. I think what'll happen is you'll have a stronger voice in Montpelier, and you'd be able to attract more people here. And you have to focus on, structures of how government's going to be structured, who's going to be in charge. But I think having that ability to come together for the area, for the good of the area, I think that would be a good thing to happen for the region. And I think the only thing holding us back are naysayers and big egos. So I think I think it would work if we start talking about it.
Thank you, Paul. Sharon Davis.
Thank you. I think some of this has been said, but I think a couple of things. We've certainly heard from some of our business partners that they have sometimes difficulty filling positions, and whether that is just not able to find the skill set that's needed for those jobs. So I think we need to continue or strengthen a program with our local colleges to define what skill sets are needed in this community and how do we fill them. The other thing is regional marketing with the chambers, the city, et cetera. They've been the stay-to-stay program, having folks come to the local area, put them up. I think it's a red carpet that they put out, and they get to meet individuals and see the area, see what's available. That certainly has been a positive incentive. And also, I think the marketing for our recreational purposes. We have wonderful parks and recs. We certainly live in a community where mountains and lakes are available. And I think we have to sell that marketing of the live, work, and play environment that we're blessed to have.
Thank you, Sharon. Sam Garuso.
Thank you, Tom. I love those statistics. I haven't seen those yet. I commend you for bringing those forth because I didn't have those statistics, but I got these facts here that I just wrote down. To know what the problem is, to find the problem or fix the problem, you got to know what the problem is. Rutland has lost some huge paying jobs at our power company. The president of the power company used to live in Rutland and shop here and eat in restaurants here. That job is gone, and a lot of those vice president jobs are gone. There's 2 vacant buildings, the Brock Building and the 77 Grove, were full of those executive jobs. Omea, gone. They were building in Rutland and planned on a lot of executive jobs, and they pulled out of here. Tambrand's gone. Metro Mail, gone. Moore Business Forums, gone. Maltool, gone. Our banks. I remember First Vermont Bank having people working at night around the clock doing all the clerical parts of managing the bank stuff. Vermont Federal, Vermont National. That's what's happened. We've lost a lot of these good paying jobs. And the thing is when it comes to building a community, the fact is that that's where that money, where people agree with me. Dad would take the little boy or girl in and say, you got a good report card here, pick out a car, I'm going to buy it for you, because they had that kind of money. That money's not around, and that's our job. We've got to replace these that we lost, and we got to hopefully replace them at a faster rate than we lost them. That's what we got to work on. Thank you.
Thank you, Sam. Cam Johnston.
Yes. I guess I'm one of those naysayers because the school board has tried to do some enticements to get Rutland Town more interested in combining. We do have, most of their students do come here, but one of the elements that we have to deal with is that there's choice is one of the big factors that influence things. So while I'm not opposed to the idea of trying to get intermunicipal working together, it is a challenge that is a tough one that would need to be dealt with. The second issue that I think is the most important is that I thought the train was our savior, but it's taken so bloody long that it's still supposedly next year, and the problem is it runs the wrong way. What it's doing is going to be bringing people up, they're going to leave Burlington in the morning and come down to Albany or whatever it is, whereas what we need to do is have a regional train system, whether it's Vermont Rail or whoever, that allows us to do the commuters so that we are able to send people and to bring people to Rutland, and they can work in Burlington. Because one of the things, like DC and some of the other locations, you have a financial hub, and so we need to take advantage of the fact that Burlington is growing. And instead of saying that they're hurting us, if we actually had a train system that allowed people to spend an hour and a half on the train and get work done, as opposed to trying to drive Route 7, that's an impossible task. So I'm still a big fan of the train. I wish they'd hurry up with some of the manufacturing requirements, you know, the tunnels and Middlebury and some of the other things have been holding it up. So it seems like it's always out of reach. And hopefully that will change things by allowing people to actually commute. It works in other places, like DC, for example, where you have a hub, and then you have people that are able to come into the city and then go back out without harming the infrastructure. So I think it's absolutely, and especially if you're green, and you're talking about we need to reduce our carbon footprint, taking advantage of the fact that all the carbon burns up in the Burlington makes us a good place to live. So I would highly advocate supporting the train and finding a way to get it so it commuters can use those rails too. Thanks.
Thank you, Cam. Matt Reveal.
Thank you, Tom. A lot of great answers again. I think our chamber does a great job with attracting people here. We have this great stay to play program. Their marketing campaign is incredible. They've really upped it the last few years. But it's great that those people come here to ski and bike and hike in our mountains and swim in our lakes and go boating. But if we don't have jobs here, these people aren't staying here. So we need to, I agree with Sam Garuso, we really need to work on getting jobs back in this city. And in order to do that, we need to fix our infrastructure. These people aren't going to come here if we don't fix the infrastructure. So in order to get the jobs, we have to fix our infrastructure. And once we do that, people will stay here and the jobs will be here. Thanks, Tom.
Thank you, Matt. Michael Talbot.
Yeah, I was disappointed to hear Scott be so dismissive of film festivals earlier. They might not appeal to him, but embracing the arts is a proven pathway to economic viability for small rural communities. So I'd point to the example of White Sulphur Springs, Montana. It was located in the poorest county in the United States, but because the residents took it upon themselves to develop an arts festival, they brought thousands of visitors to the town each year, helped to finance new enterprises, and made huge improvements in infrastructure, all as a result of the arts. In 2018, the National Endowment for the Arts gave $8 million in the form of 300 grants to build arts hubs in small rural communities like Rutland. Grants like these can help us create a sustainable cultural scene, which spurs economic development and entices new young residents to move here. The arts can foster community pride and create jobs. I've earned grants from the French-American Cultural Exchange, the Spanish Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and been supported by funding from the National Endowment for the Humanities. I can bring this kind of cultural funding to Rutland, increase its reputation and visibility.
Thank you, Michael. Scott Tomola.
Sure, thanks. Again, a lot of great ideas have been touched on here: infrastructure, tax rate. I got to come back to the tax rate on this one. If a business is going to come into Rutland, all right, the tax rate that they have to pay has to work within their business plan, within their business model. If it's too expensive for them to even open the doors here, it doesn't matter whether we have a workforce ready for them or not. They're just not going to come. And so we need to go back and we need to look at those other two legs of the stool and how we decrease the municipal rate. I mean, obviously the first one is spending and management. The second one that was already touched on as well is other creative revenue streams. And then the third leg of the stool that people like to address is their grand list, which obviously businesses would improve. But our biggest problem with the grand list at this point is we need to stop it from shrinking. And it's shrinking because of the increasing number of nonprofit organizations' properties that are coming off the tax rolls. We have about a $1 billion property assessment in the city of Rutland. There would be an additional 2/3 of $1 billion on the tax rolls if all of the not-for-profits were paying their property taxes. All right, they're not legally obligated to, and some of them make a payment in lieu of taxes, but it's not enough to drive the economy here, and so we need to look at maybe capping the number of nonprofits that are available to work in Rutland City. I'm not saying challenge their not-for-profit status. I'm just saying we need to look at how do we encourage them to make more payments in lieu of taxes for the services that they're receiving from the city.
Thank you, Scott. John Atwood, you get to lead us off. So we're over to this side of the room. The next question is one you'll be familiar with. The Rutland City bond article number 1, requests authorization for an additional $4 million for roads and $1 million for sidewalks. Do you support or oppose this request, and why?
So I've been thinking about this, and honestly, I'm not really sure which way I'm going to vote on Tuesday. But I'm hoping that some of the incumbents can maybe clarify some things for me in their coming answers. I certainly agree that infrastructure is very important and roads and sidewalks are key. And I've been very blessed to live in a neighborhood that has had some very nice improvements to the roads and sidewalks. And the route that I walk my dog on has extended because of that. So I definitely agree that it's very important. I am a little bit concerned, though, that the details of the plan for how this money is to be spent are a little bit sparse. I'd like to know how much money it would take to complete the entire project, how long it would take to complete the entire project. What are the estimates for that? I'm also a little bit concerned that this project is what I see as routine maintenance for things that we already own. I feel that going into debt is acceptable, but you go into debt to acquire something new, to take advantage of an opportunity that presents itself. I certainly appreciate that now might be a good time to go into debt because interest rates are low. So there is that going for it. And I do think that there is validity to the argument that rehabilitating the roads and sidewalks would be very attractive to new businesses and new residents. So I guess I'm still hoping to learn more. If I learn more, it'll be easier to decide to vote for or against. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Paul Clifford.
I support the proposed bond issue. I think it's a good plan. The city engineer has laid out the plan in the Public Works Committee, and there has been, I believe only one public hearing on the matter. But I think it's long overdue. I think some of the improvements, like John had said, in his neighborhood, those are a good start, but I think more of that has to happen. And along with it's not just roads and sidewalks, but as we go on and there we find like a road that has the infrastructure that's needed to be done underneath, then those problems have to be addressed as well. But I do support it. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Sharon Davis.
Yeah, I believe the question was, do we or do we not support it? I do support it. I do also understand that there's some unanswered questions for folks needing or wanting to know the specific streets that will be addressed or the specific placements of the sidewalks. I think the board has listened to both sides of the discussion of if that information is put out and maybe your street's not on the list, would you or would you not support the bond? There's been a lot of back and forth. The issue was referred to committee, so as we get closer and progress, hopefully some possible more finite information will come out. But in general, I do support the roads and sidewalks. I believe it's certainly needed infrastructure improvements.
Thank you, Sharon. Sam Garuso.
Incumbents, don't take this personally, but I don't know that much about the bond. I wasn't there to see how it all was structured. I'm inclined to say no, because I think it's an awful lot of money. When I was on the board, the budget for paving was always inside the budget. It was always part of the city budget. The other thing is, if I'm allowed to say, I'm 62 years old. It seems like for 62 years I've heard we got to fix the streets and the sidewalks and the pipes in this town, and I've heard it, and I've heard it, and I've heard it. But I can tell you that when Senator Jeffords was alive and in office, I could call him, and believe it or not, that's where some of the money from the Paramount Theater came from, was Senator Jeffords, and so did the train station, and so did the transit center came from Senator Leahy. And there's a lot of money in Washington. I've heard President Trump say that he wants to fix the infrastructure in this country. Let's get on the phone. Let's try to get somebody to get a hold of them and see. Matthew Sternberg had the Secretary of Business Development or something walking the streets of Rutland for 2 days back when Tom was the Community Development Director. They know we're here. We just got to remind them that. But let's get them in and see if we can get some help, because this is a big problem that we can't afford to pay. At least I can't afford if my taxes go up anymore. That's one of the reasons I'm running, is to help keep the taxes down, because I can't afford it anymore. Thank you.
Thank you, Sam. Cam Johnston.
Yeah, John, you're becoming a politician. Being on both sides of the issue is an excellent idea. As we go through this process, we have to really decide if there is a project that is worthwhile or not. One of the problems I have with the bond is, well, I guess I will say I'm inclined to vote no, because I think pensions and some of the other issues need to be developed. The other thing is Burlington, South Burlington, and Fairhaven have multi-billion-dollar school bonding issues coming up. And we have done a good job in Rutland by making sure that we stay within our budget. So we potentially might have some bonding issues in the future, and you have a limited pie from where that money can come from. And so that's one of my concerns, is the Board of Aldermen is frequently out of touch as to what the school department's doing, and I think it's more essential that we act as a community and make sure that we answer those specific questions. If my street isn't going to get paved for 10 years, guess what? I'm going to vote no. And I think that's why there's lack of specificity in this particular plan, because I think they want to convince everybody that you're going to get a new street on your street tomorrow. And the woman came, I think it was Meadow Street or someplace, to the Board of Aldermen, and they said, I think, that her street was probably 3 years away because it was so complicated based upon the infrastructure and stuff. So as we go through this process, I think it's absolutely essential that people have to be transparent, they have to be straightforward, and I think it's quite clear that when we talk about fiscal accountability, that it's important that we get into the details in terms of if the $10, if the $5 million bond is going to end up costing $10 million, I think that's important to tell people as to what is this actually going to cost in the long run. And Mayor Allaire was honest that he said it was too expensive, too much of a price shock if we had to fund it directly out of the budget to accomplish the same thing. So I think we need to hold our politicians accountable, and if they're going to be putting out ideas for us to support, they need more details. Thank you.
Thank you, Cam. Matt Reveal.
Thank you, Tom. Well, John, no one's answered your question yet, and it was at a public hearing. To do the entire sidewalks and roads in the city of Rutland, just to pave, it will cost $8 million. Just to pave. That's not counting the infrastructure underneath. That's not counting anything. It's just the paving. It would cost $8 million. We're asking for 4 for roads. We're asking 1 for sidewalks. If you own a vehicle or ride a bike in this city, you know this needs to happen. I fully support this bond. It's something that we need to do, and for when timeframes are when streets are going to get done, it depends on the infrastructure of your street. You can't drive down a city street in Rutland and not hit a pothole. I can't tell you how many times that I've had dents on my rims, on my tires. I've blown 2 tires out this year. We need to fix these roads. And we take $500,000 a year out of the city budget to pave. That's it. We just told you it costs $8 million to do this project just for paving. $500,000 doesn't buy a whole lot of paving. Please support this bond.
Thank you, Matt. Michael Talbot.
So I'm a department chair, and in that role, I'm asked regularly to put together plans for new initiatives and capital improvements. If I put forth a plan that asked stakeholders to pony up a substantial sum but lacked sufficient specifics, I'd never get the support I was asking for. I applaud the folks behind the plan for the work they've done and the initiative they've shown on making paving a priority. It is important to our community, to voters, and to our economic development. But the voters want more specifics. In the past week, I've received dozens of calls from Rutland City voters who want to share their frustration with being asked to bear the burden of a $5 million bond without details about which streets will be paved, in what order, and what crews will take on this increase in workload. The Rutland voters want more specifics before they vote yes on the bond.
Thank you, Michael. Scott Tomala.
Thanks, Tom. Yeah, I don't doubt the need. I doubt the plan. It is long overdue, but I also feel that people are paying enough in their property taxes as it is. With a municipal tax rate of $1.77, quality streets and sidewalks should be baked into that price. Unfortunately, they're not, because there's some other big ticket items that we have to prioritize first, such as funding the underfunded pension. But a bond is almost like a home equity loan, where you go and you get bonded for a certain amount. You're looking to take a line of credit for a particular amount. You don't have to use it all at once. All right, you can withdraw some to use for like say phase 1, and that's what you're paying the interest on, and that's what you're paying the principal on, and the other you haven't touched. So to me, there is no reason why we can't go have a whole detailed plan laid out, full funding, get the full bond, and use it as we need to. But we do need to have a more detailed plan. So, like I said, I support the need. I don't support the current plan. I think it needs to be more detailed.
Thank you, Scott. Matt Wickham.
Thank you, Tom. I do support this bond. I'm also very empathetic to people's concerns about there not being enough details surrounding the exact plan of this, but in many conversations with our city engineer, I feel confident that the job will get done and it'll get done well. There's really 2 specific points I want to make to you about this bond. One, everyone up here on this debate stage has talked about revenue. The most simple equation to driving revenue, traffic. You're not going to drive much traffic if your streets and sidewalks are in disrepair. Something to consider. The other thing that I'm just absolutely astonished no one's talked about is accessibility, in particular sidewalks. Through some of the work that I've done with Project Vision, I have a heartbreaking stat to share with you. The majority of people who don't go to medical appointments opt not to go for something we call the first and last mile. The sidewalks and infrastructure is in such disrepair from the point at which they walk out of their house to where they get picked up that they sometimes opt to stay home because they don't even want to risk it. To me, it would just be selfish for us to actually turn this down at this point. Deductive reasoning suggests we're going to focus on the areas that are most damaged. So I understand people might want to know if it's their street or not. Take a walk through the city. Take a drive. You're going to have a good sense of where the money is going to go. It's going to be well spent. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. Now we go to the portion of our forum tonight where we're going to do a lightning round. So we're going to start with Paul Clifford up next, and he'll get the first question. And by lightning round, what we mean is, and we'll see if they can do it, yes or no. So Paul, budget article number 1, Rutland City School budget, $58 million, yes or no?
No.
Sharon?
No.
Sam?
No.
Cam?
And I can't do it because I voted for 2 of the budgets, and I actually unfortunately had to vote against it this year because I thought the payments were too much. So the answer is no, but in context.
There's our first one that couldn't do it in the yes or no. Matt?
You're tricking me because I have a two-part to this. I'm going to say no, but it's because it's 3/4 of your property tax.
There's a second one that couldn't do it. Michael?
Yes.
Scott?
Absolutely not. The only way that you stop the spending increase is to send a clear message, and that's no.
Matt?
No.
Well, we did pretty well.
Don't forget John.
John?
Yes.
Excellent. So we got 2/3. We're able to do that with a yes or a no. That's pretty good. All right, next question. Lightning rounds, Sharon. Budget article number 2, Rutland City Municipal Budget, $22 million, yes or no?
Yes.
Sam?
Yes.
Cam?
Well, I guess this is payback, no.
Matt?
Yes.
Michael?
Yes.
Scott?
This year, yes, not as high next year.
Matt?
Yes.
Very good. All right. Oh, wait a minute, we got to keep going. John?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
All right, now we got through it. So you guys have all been so succinct in your answers, and we all sincerely appreciate it, that we're going to move to the last portion of the agenda and actually give you the chance to make closing remarks. So with that, we'll start with Sharon Davis.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you. I did write something down. So I'd like to say thank you very much for this opportunity this evening. Again, if I am reelected, I will continue to bring my dedication, my hard work, and the knowledge of this city issue to the table. I care about this community, and I am invested in this community. I will work on your agenda, not mine. I will bring your voice to the table, not mine. And together, we will continue to move Rutland forward. And I would appreciate your continued support on Election Day. Thank you.
Thank you, Sharon. Sam Garuso.
Thank you very much, Tom. And ladies and gentlemen, again, I've been around forever, grew up here, have worked my entire life in this town, and I'm not doing well financially. Things have really been tough for my business, and I'm in the newsprint business. But the thing is that there are a lot of you that I don't believe are doing that well, too, and I think that we need to work on that. I don't know if we're going to get this done overnight. It's going to take some time. You heard me vote no on the school budget. Not to beat up any of the teachers or anybody there. I don't know about the school budget. I have paid no attention to it. And again, we always said vote no, and to be sure. On the city budget, I said yes only because I know City Hall's been through a lot. The Fathom disaster with that water company and all that stuff. These guys have worked hard to try to keep the billing going. And there's a lot of dedicated people in City Hall, and I mean police, fire, DPW, that's City Hall. So the thing is I just wanted to bring my expertise back to the board, my 6 years from the 90s, and see if I can put it to use and try to get this community going again. There have been some great ideas here about how we're going to increase the population and increase the income and increase revenues. That's what we need to do. I know that, and if you remember the list I read to you, we're hurting because we've lost some very, very good employers that paid good money. So I just want to say I'm ready to work on it, and I thank you for watching tonight. I hope you enjoyed this program.
Thank you, Sam. Cam Johnston.
Boy, it's tough. Once you actually get elected, it's a little harder to do things than it is to suggest things out of hand. And so I have learned that by working on the school board. And so one of the things that I will promise as I go, well, if I get the opportunity to go forward in any elected capacity, is to actually share information in a way that is productive. So if I offended anyone today, I apologize. That was not my intent. My intent was to point out that there's some deficiencies in some of the processes that we engage in, and we frequently have this conflict between infrastructure and low taxes. And I was cool for cutting budgets before it was cool, because every budget's passed except once in the school budget process in recent history. So the public that votes is very much into public services and making sure that they get their infrastructure things done. So my prediction on budget day is that both budgets will pass, the bond will pass, because the people that are engaged, the people that are informed, are the ones that have a set agenda that they are trying to push on everyone else. And as we go through this process, I would ask you, do we want some independence? Do we want some ability to have people that are not going to pander to you and are willing to tell you even though they don't think it's popular? And I have been suggested to that it's you have to put on a smiley face and go through the motions in order to be effective. And that clearly is not the way I operate. So I'm willing to accept the consequences as they fall, but I think somebody needs to stand up and actually tell the public, and I wish we had greater access to the public in terms of more free to media access. I'm not willing to spend money. I don't ask for money from people, and I don't engage in that pandering behavior that I think you've seen some folks engage in tonight. So as we move forward, please take your vote very seriously and put people in place that you think will follow through on legitimate commitments. And I'll end there. Thanks.
Thank you, Cam. Matt Reveal.
Thank you, Tom. I'm going to keep it short and sweet. If I'm elected, I'm going to do exactly what I did last year. I'm going to work just as hard as I did for this city and the taxpayers as I did last year. I'm going to get on whatever committee I'm assigned to. I'm going to pay attention. I'm going to do everything that I can to keep the tax rate down, grow business, fix the infrastructure. I mean, it's just a lot. And we had a tough year in the city of Rutland, and it's only going to get better. And I think that the people we have in place are the right people that can get it done, and I'm hoping that you support us on Election Day. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. Michael Talbot.
So, as I mentioned before, I'm a teacher at Castleton. I'm really invested in creating and identifying opportunities for our young people so that they'll stay here, or if they do go away, that they'll come back. They're in the teachers union. I understand contracts. I think I could work effectively with the various unions in the city. I'm committed to Rutland and its future. I'm committed to creating new opportunities for people to move here and make a life here. And I have a specific idea about something that Rutland can do to carve out a unique identity for itself and to improve its reputation, and that's to embrace the arts. Arts initiatives are a proven pathway to economic viability for communities like ours. I want to be a fresh voice on the Board of Aldermen, so go out and vote March 3rd.
Thank you, Michael. Scott Tomala.
Thanks, Tom. So this evening, you've heard some newcomer candidates telling you what the people who are backing them and their party says you need. Let me tell you what Rutland doesn't need. We don't need aldermen who serve as puppets for parties or personal agendas. We already have enough of that. Rutland needs aldermen who understand that our primary job is the fiduciary responsibility we have to the taxpayers and making sure our city budget is affordable. We don't need another alderman who shows up to just one budget meeting because social issues took priority over budget responsibilities. Rutland doesn't need aldermen who tell us that Rutland will become more affordable through the arts. We all choose to live here because we love Rutland for what it is and what it's growing into. Those of us who moved here did so because we liked something here, and we didn't move here and then try to mold it to our ideology. So when you see expensive campaign videos or glossy mailings and emails from a political party about a local campaign, you need to question, who is driving that train? Are their motives in the best interest of Rutland? And you need to decide if you're going to let your vote allow the divisive party politics we are seeing nationally permeate to the local level, where historically all political ideologies have worked together to bring Rutland forward. So I'm asking for your vote on March 3rd because I understand the real issues facing Rutlanders, and I want the opportunity to continue making Rutland not only the place people want to live, but the place people can afford to live. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. Matt Wickham.
Thank you, Tom. I'm going to keep this short and sweet. I'm going to continue to control costs, grow revenue, and try to build a Rutland that works for every resident. I hope to see you out there on March 3rd.
Thank you, Matt. John Atwood.
So I am a newer resident of Rutland. I moved here kind of on the cusp of the introduction of the regional marketing initiatives, and I was participating in some of the initial conversations and focus groups about those activities. And for me, what brought me here was a personal connection with somebody who took me on a tour of the city, showed me things like the farmers market, showed me neighborhoods, connected me with other people who were doing things that I was interested in. And when I moved here, the community embraced me and started introducing me to different activities, getting me involved with different groups. And this has really led to Rutland being a great place for me. So I'm now in a position where I'm settled and I'm ready to get involved. I'm ready to serve. Hopefully that's on the Board of Aldermen, but I'm also open to other opportunities in the community. And I think we just need to have a little bit of faith that what work has already been started to expand our vision and attract people to Rutland is effective. And I think it's going to bear fruit, and it is already bearing fruit. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Paul Clifford.
Thanks, Tom. I believe my record speaks for itself as far as what my dedication is to the city of Rutland. For the past 2 years, I served earlier in the late 80s and early in mid-90s. I was a businessman downtown. I was a public works commissioner. I was a street department supervisor. I know this city, and I want to continue to work for the city of Rutland, and I also want to wish every candidate here good luck on Election Day.
Thank you, Paul. So I'm Tom Donahue, your moderator and host for the Aldermanic Forum tonight. I hope this was informative for you. I really want to thank PEG TV, this amazing community access that we have right here in Rutland County, for allowing this kind of opportunity to be presented to you in your living room or your favorite handheld device. So thanks to PEG TV. I also want to give a shout out to the Rutland Herald who's here tonight, and we really appreciate the coverage. This is really important topics, and 9 candidates running for 5 seats on the Rutland City Board of Aldermen, so it's some difficult choices. I really think that there was a lot of great conversation here tonight. Should help you make your decision on March 3rd. We will be bringing to you the results of that on March 3rd with yours truly, Tom Donahue, along with our co-host, Nancy Gordon, and we'll be live starting at 7 p.m. with results coming in from Rutland City shortly thereafter. City Clerk Henry Heck is real fast with these electronic voting machines, and we'll be calling out some winners. So if you want to tune in then, we'll tell you which one of these 5 of 9 are actually elected to the board. But as a couple of members mentioned, get out and vote. That's the power right now, and the democratic process is in your hands. So please, you can vote absentee right there at City Hall now, or you can, get out to the poll itself if you want to see your neighbors and friends on the 3rd of March and cast your ballot and make your voice be heard. Lastly, I want to thank this studio audience that's here tonight. We actually have a live audience, and we really appreciate that. So thank you very much. You guys are great. And with that, we'll say goodnight for now. But again, Tom Donahue, your host, moderator for PEG TV live Aldermanic Forum, and we'll see you at the live election night coverage. Thanks for watching.